We know the recession hit Cleveland hard, and now census data shows more than 10 years later, we are still feeling the ripple effects.
The Center for American Progress says African-American home ownership has reached an all-time low here in the U.S. Northeast Ohio is not exempt from this trend. 5 on Your Side investigator Joe Paganakis explains what the recession has to do with these new numbers.
Danita, the report indicates predominantly African-American neighborhoods hit hard by the 2008 housing crash are not recovering here in Northeast Ohio and across the country, and that is having a big impact on African-American home ownership. The Center for American Progress points to new census data that indicates African-American homeownership in the U.S. has dropped nearly 9%, an all-time low.
African-American community historically has been excluded from homeownership.
American Progress senior policy analyst Michaela Zonta just releasing a study indicating ongoing discriminatory lending practices by banks, a lack of enforcement of the 1968 Fair Housing Act, and little to no recovery of housing values after the 2008 crash in African-American neighborhoods are to blame for dropping African-American home ownership.
50 years have passed. We still see these problems, and we still see concentration of poverty, not just in inner cities, but also in the suburbs.
CSU Marshall Law professor Kermit Lynn says the banking industry must give current African-American homeowners an equal chance to keep up their houses so they don't lose them to code enforcement and foreclosure.
The efforts of African Americans to get home improvement loans, rehab loans, the kind of loans that help people recover are not being made available.
And finally, Zonta's report calls for more funds appropriated for Fair Housing Initiative programs and for staffing at HUD and the Office of Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity, catching and stopping systemic discrimination rather than perpetuating it.
It's the responsibility of the federal government to step in and recognize that we still have that problem.
And Cuyahoga County is on the brink of releasing a major housing recovery study of its own and coming up with solutions to this issue. Its title is Will Cleveland's East Side Be Left Behind?, outlining how to create a more balanced recovery, especially in predominantly African-American neighborhoods. Reporting live in the Tech Center, I'm 5 on Your Side investigator Joe Paganakis.
Well, Joe, here's some good news for homeowners or future homeowners. Economic experts predict the next recession is coming in 2020, but they do not think it will hit the housing market like it did in 2008. A panel of 100 economists cited trade policy, stock market correction, and a geopolitical crisis as the likely trigger. These experts also think home buying demand will continue to fall in 2020.